Hi, I'm Wanda from Alanda Craft, and we've just received our next lot of fabric from Cotton Cuts. So we're going to be making what we call a Broken Blocks Quilt. So let's take a look at what's in the box. These come beautifully packaged in these little boxes. We get 3 yards of material, which is really nice. Okay, so we also get some cards. There's one here telling us what the range of fabric is, and it's called Murano. And there's also some ideas on these cards. Now, they come in these cute little boxes. We also get a pencil and we get some thread. Now I've already opened this because I took some photos which I put up on our community page, so if you like to go on there you can certainly see what we did there, and we asked for some opinions on what colour fabric you thought would go as a contrast, and we got some nice ideas. Alright, so here's the fabric. It's absolutely beautiful fabric. It has a lovely feel to it and it's lovely and vibrant. Just look at those shades. So what we're going to do is we're going to be putting black. We've decided to go with black, and we're going to put those between these colours. And as I say, we're going to be making a quilt that we call Broken Blocks. So we've given the fabrics a press, and you can see how beautiful these fabrics are now that they're opened right out. Just look at those colours. They're so vibrant and gorgeous. Now these are part of the quarterly pack, yes. So we receive 3 yards of fabric, 1 yard of each colour, every 3 months. So we went out to Spotlight yesterday and we purchased some black fabric to go with these fabrics, and you can see that here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting them into strips. Okay, so I finished cutting my strips. So basically 2 blocks to this quilt, and I've assembled them here how you need to put them together. So we have a blue, the black, the pink, black and a multicoloured, and for the second block we've got the multicoloured black, blue, black, pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with 1 block at a time. So I'll work with this block to start with and show you what we're going to do. So as you can see, we still have our strips, so they're all, nothing sewn together yet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the first strip and just lay it out, and then we'll take our black strip and we'll lay it down the side. And you probably want to pin it because they're quite long. And then what we'll do is we'll sew all the way down there with a 1/4 inch seam. And once we've done that, we'll open it and we'll take our pink strip and we'll sew it to the black strip. Again, pinning it nicely together and sewing with a 1/4 inch seam. And we'll just keep doing that until we've used all our strips up. So then we'll open our pink one and we'll add our black one, and then we'll add our multicoloured one. So I'll go and do that now, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I've sewn the pieces together. Okay, so I've sewn my strips together, and I have 4 strips that make up block 1, and I have 4 strips for block 2. I'm going to start with the strips that make up block 1, and I'll put block 2 aside. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them into 10-inch blocks. Okay, so I'm just taking one of the strips now. I've put all of the others aside, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off all of the salvage edges off the strips. So I've lined this ruler up and I'm lining it along one of my seam lines rather than the edge, because the edges are a bit wavy, as you can see. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut off that salvage piece. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just move my strip up and line it up, and I'm going to cut it at 10 inches. So that's my first block cut. Now I'm just going to do the same thing all the way down the strip. I'll cut it into 10-inch blocks, and I should get 4 out of each strip. So I have my 4 blocks cut, and I have a little piece left over which will go into my crumb quilting box, and I'm going to do exactly the same with all of the other strips that I have. So I ended up with 16 of each block type, and so I only need 15, and therefore I have 2 left over, and I'll probably make a zippered pouch or something from those 2. So now we need to go and lay this out, so let's hit the floor and see what it looks like. So we've laid it out, and I think it looks really great at this point. You could easily just stop here and piece this together as it is, but we're going to continue on and add some sashing. Now this will create a different look, and it'll also make the quilt bigger. So the first thing we're going to do is cut the sashing for our blocks, and what I've done is I've taken some material and I've cut it into 2-inch strips by the width of the fabric, and I've cut 6 of those, and then I'm going to open it up and I'm going to cut them into 10-inch lengths, and I'll get 4 from each strip, so that will give me 24 pieces to go with my blocks. Okay, so I have my little pile of sashing here. Now you may remember we have 15 of each of these blocks, but we're only going to add sashing to 12 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove 3 blocks from each of these piles, and I'll put those aside, and what we'll do is we'll start putting the sashing onto these blocks. So I'm going to take a piece of sashing, and for this pile of blocks the sashing is all going to be placed down this side here. So I will sew it to each block with a 1/4-inch seam. So all of these go to the side. Now when I'm doing this block, I'm going to be adding the sashing down the bottom here. And again, I'll line it all up and I'll sew it with a 1/4-inch seam. So this pile, all of the sashing will go to the bottom of the block. So this is what our blocks look like with the sashing attached. So now we'll go and lay them out and see what they look like. Okay, so I've got the blocks all laid out now, and you can see where the sashing is sitting. Now, we don't have any sashing between the rows at the moment, so that will be our next step. But remember the blocks that we didn't add sashing to? Well, they run down the side here, and what will happen is when we sew these together, they'll actually be attached to a piece of sashing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and sew these into rows, and to do that I'll take the first block, lay it over the next block, and sew it with a 1/4-inch seam, and I'll just do that along the row, and I'll continue all the way down. Okay, so I've sewn the rows together, and now, I mean, this looks amazing as it is. You could just go with this sort of a look, but we're going to continue on and we're going to add sashing between the rows. So I've cut some strips of sashing here, and these are going to have to be joined, but I'm just going to show you what we're going to do. Okay, so we will sew 1 to each of these rows all the way up, and then we'll join the rows. But to start with, we'll simply join our sashing so it's long enough, and then add it to the bottom of the row with a 1/4-inch seam. Now the first thing you'll want to do, of course, is to measure your rows, and it should be approximately 53.5. Ours is 53.5, so we're quite happy with that. So I'll go and do that now, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. So we've sewn our rows together with the sashing in between, so that's all finished. So now we just need to add the long strips to the sides, and I'll go and do that now. So that's the centre of our quilt finished now. It's got all its sashing attached, and I think it looks really lovely. I think that blue, it makes it pop, and so does the black. So you can finish it here, and you could just add some binding to it if you wish, or you could go ahead and add some more borders. Okay, so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Cotton Cuts for sending us this fabric. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it, and I think it's made a really nice quilt. So thank you for watching, and if you like this tutorial, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.